In the annals of history, few warriors are as revered and feared as the Berserkers. These legendary Viking fighters were said to possess a terrifying ability to enter a trance-like state of fury during battle, allowing them to unleash a primal rage that was unstoppable. Often depicted as ferocious fighters who fought without armor or shield, the Berserkers were believed to be immune to pain and possessed of superhuman strength and endurance. But what truly made these warriors so terrifying was their signature move, the Berserk Rage, a violent and uncontrolled outburst of anger that turned them into savage beasts on the battlefield. But what exactly was the source of this Berserk Rage? And how did these warriors tap into such a powerful state of mind? What if I told you that the secret behind the Berserker's rage was hidden in plain sight all along, in the very forests and fields they inhabited? Recent research has uncovered a fascinating theory that suggests that these legendary warriors may have achieved their iconic state of mind by consuming magic mushrooms. This intriguing idea has sent shockwaves through the historical community and promises to shed a whole new light on the mysterious world of the Vikings. The origins of the Berserker can be traced back to the Viking Age, a period in European history that spanned from the 8th to the 11th centuries, and saw the rise of the formidable Norsemen who lived in Scandinavia. The Vikings were renowned for their seafaring skills and their ability to navigate the treacherous waters of the North Sea, which allowed them to raid, trade, and explore vast territories across Europe, Asia, and the Americas. But it was their military prowess that truly set them apart, particularly their elite group of warriors known as the Berserkers. The term Berserker itself refers to a group of legendary Viking warriors who were said to have fought in a trance-like state of fury, often without armor or a shield. The word itself, Berserker, translates to bear shirt or bear shirt, which alludes to their practice of going into battle either wearing a bear skin or with no armor at all. Instead, they would rely on their sheer strength and ferocity to overpower their opponents. The Berserkers were a significant part of Viking culture and society. They played a vital role in raids, battles, and conflicts, striking fear into the hearts of their enemies and cementing their reputation as fierce and unrelenting warriors. These elite soldiers were handpicked for their bravery, strength, and unwavering loyalty to their chieftains. They were often the first to engage in battle, leading the charge and inspiring the rest of the Viking army to fight with valor and determination. The Berserker's signature was a terrifying, uncontrollable rage that made them immune to pain and filled them with a seemingly supernatural strength. The Berserk Rage was described in Viking sagas as a state of frenzy, where they would howl like wild beasts, bite their shields, and charge into battle heedless of their own safety. This state of mind allowed them to endure wounds that would normally incapacitate a regular soldier, and to fight with an intensity and ferocity that was truly awe-inspiring. One of the most popular and debated theories is that the Berserkers achieved their state of mind by ingesting a psychedelic substance, most likely the mushroom Amanita muscaria, also known as the fly Agaric. This theory is based on the description of the Berserkers' behavior in the Viking sagas, which often include vivid imagery and fantastical elements. Some accounts describe the Berserkers as foaming at the mouth, biting their shields and exhibiting other signs of intense physical and mental agitation. These symptoms are similar to those induced by the psychoactive compound muscle, which is found in Amanita muscaria. Another interesting aspect of this theory is that the consumption of fly agaric mushrooms was a common practice among the Vikings and other cultures of northern Europe. In fact, archaeological evidence has revealed the presence of these mushrooms in burial sites and ritualistic contexts, suggesting that they held a significant cultural and religious importance to these societies. Additionally, the Vikings' close connection to nature and their belief in the healing and medicinal properties of plants make it plausible that they would have incorporated fly agaric into their rituals and ceremonies. If the Berserkers were indeed using fly agaric mushrooms to enhance their rage, it's possible that they either crushed and mixed the mushrooms with their food or brewed a tea or extract that they consumed before battle. This would allow the psychoactive compounds to take effect and induce the desired state of mind. The timing of the consumption would be crucial to ensure that the effects were at their peak during the battle. However, the use of psychedelics in warfare is a controversial topic, and there is limited historical evidence to support the theory that the Berserkers used fly agaric mushrooms or any other psychoactive substances to gain an advantage in battle. While the sagas provide vivid descriptions of their behavior, it's important to note that they were written many years after the Viking Age and may contain exaggerated or fictionalized accounts of these legendary warriors. Some historians argue that the Berserkers' rage was not drug-induced, but rather self-induced, a psychological technique akin to a battle trance that was learned through intense training, ritualistic chants, and self-hypnosis. This theory is supported by the fact that the Berserkers were highly skilled warriors who had undergone rigorous training and preparation before battle. It's possible that their ability to enter a state of heightened awareness and focus allowed them to push beyond their physical and mental limits, giving them the appearance of being immune to pain and possessing superhuman strength. Moreover, the Berserker cult was closely associated with the god Odin, the patron god of war, ecstasy, and magic, and it was believed that the warriors were imbued with his spirit in battle. This divine connection would have given them a sense of purpose and determination that transcended fear and pain, allowing them to fight with reckless abandon, regardless of the cause of their rage. The Berserkers' ferocity and lack of self-preservation made them an object of fear and awe. Their bloodlust knew no bounds, and they charged into battle with a wild abandon that was terrifying to behold. The mere sight of a berserker charging towards an opponent, foaming at the mouth and brandishing a weapon with deadly intent, was enough to strike fear into the hearts of even the most seasoned warriors. During battle, the berserkers were a force to be reckoned with. Their rage knew no bounds, and they fought with a wild abandon that was both terrifying and mesmerizing to behold. With eyes blazing with fury and muscles bulging with untamed strength, they tore through their enemies, leaving a trail of carnage in their wake. Their weapons flashed like lightning as they hacked and slashed, sending limbs flying and blood staining the ground crimson. The berserkers' ferocity was unmatched. They fought with a primal intensity that seemed almost otherworldly, as if they were possessed by some kind of supernatural force. Their disregard for their own safety was astonishing. They charged into the thick of battle without a shred of fear, dodging incoming attacks with acrobatic ease, while raining down blows that could shatter bone and cleave men in two. Their resilience was equally impressive. Even when wounded, they showed no sign of weakness. They shook off injuries that would incapacitate any normal warrior and kept fighting with renewed vigor. As the battle raged on, the Berserkers' presence on the battlefield became a spectacle of violence and raw power. The sight of these ferocious warriors, locked in combat, was enough to send shivers down the spines of onlookers. The clash of steel on steel echoed across the battlefield as the Berserkers dueled with their opponents. Their movements were swift and precise, yet their expressions were wild and untamed, a stark contrast that made them all the more formidable. Despite their ferocity, the Berserkers were not invincible. As the battle reached its climax, they eventually exhausted their strength and their bodies grew heavy with fatigue. Yet even in their moments of weakness, they remained defiant, standing tall against their enemies and refusing to yield. As the dust settled and the echoes of battle faded away, the Berserkers stood amidst the carnage, their bodies battered and bruised, but their spirits unbroken. They had fought with a fury that had struck fear into the hearts of their enemies, and emerged victorious. However, their triumph was tinged with sadness as they knew that their time on Earth was now drawing to a close. With their life force spent, the Berserkers collapsed to the ground, their bodies lifeless and still. Their absence on the battlefield was felt deeply by their fellow warriors, who mourned the loss of their legendary companions. The sagas tell of a few instances where the Berserkers' rage was so out of control that they would turn on their own allies or even on themselves. Their strength was so great that they could easily overpower and kill their comrades, and their disregard for pain and injury meant that they would continue to fight until they had literally beaten themselves to death. The use of Berserkers was not just a military tactic, but also a status symbol. Only the bravest and most loyal warriors were chosen to serve as Berserkers, and their fierce loyalty and strength were a symbol of the chief's power and prestige. Moreover, the Berserkers' otherworldly appearance and demeanor added to their mystique, and made them an object of both admiration and fear among the Viking population. But the end of the Viking Age also marked the beginning of the end for the Berserkers. As Christianity spread throughout Scandinavia, the old pagan practices and beliefs were suppressed, and the Berserker cult gradually faded into obscurity. With the decline of Viking society, there was less need for elite shock troops, and the Berserkers' unique role in warfare became obsolete. Furthermore, the Christian Church viewed the Berserkers' practices as barbaric and heretical, and their violent behavior was condemned as sinful and uncivilized. As a result, the Berserkers were persecuted and their numbers dwindled, eventually disappearing altogether. Today, the Berserkers remain one of the most enigmatic and terrifying figures in Viking history, a testament to the brutal and often otherworldly nature of their warfare. Their legacy lives on in modern language, with the term berserk still used to describe a wild and uncontrollable rage. The stories of these ferocious warriors continue to captivate historians and enthusiasts alike, and their impact on popular culture is undeniable. From books and movies to video games and merchandise, the Berserkers' popularity shows no signs of waning, and so the legend of the Berserkers endures, reminding us of a time when warriors were not only skilled fighters, but also possessed of a fierce and primal rage that knew no bounds. The story of the Berserkers offers a glimpse into a warrior culture that valued a fierce, almost spiritual connection to battle and a complete lack of fear in the face of death. The terrifying image of a howling warrior in a trance, biting his shield and charging into the fray, remains a powerful and haunting symbol of the Viking Age. All right, everyone, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We've got lots of exciting content coming up, and we'd love to have you along for the ride. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.